meantime, let's start getting a little acquainted. I've got some wonderful names I'm not familiar with. Carol, I want to start with you. You've got a hell of a background there. What is that?
Oh, thank you. That's some paints that fell on my canvas. I have no idea what it is.
So it
Thank
sounds like
you,
you're a
though.
painter. Where are you from?
I live in Virginia, the Richmond, Virginia area. And we have a little group that's been getting together on Zoom. And Tom comes and visits us once in a while. We always enjoy seeing him.
Yeah, I need to do that more often. You're a great group.
Oh, thank you. It's amazing. Well, all you ranch book readers are amazing, but I'm prejudiced that way.
Are you a society?
No, I've had the book since the early 70s, but I mostly did the housewife mother thing for quite a few decades. So now that everybody's grown up, I get to be more involved with, especially with Zoom. I mean, being in Virginia, there aren't a whole lot of your Rancho book readers in my area. So Zoom has really brought me into the world of your Rancho book readers.
Is that group still meeting up in Maryland? I used to live in Baltimore and participated with the group just south of Baltimore a little way.
I don't know. I've had a little group here in the Richmond area for probably about 15 years, and it's a
Okay,
really small group. But I'm not
Right.
too familiar with other groups.
So you're a study.
right.
You
I'm trying to remember the names.
you act
Oh,
as a
no.
study group,
Running out
Carol?
of power.
Yes, we have
hold on.
it's on the study group. It's on the portal and everything. The fellowship and the your Rancho book reader portal.
Well, welcome. I hope you
Thank you.
can attend. We have quarterly gatherings and wonderful speakers like Tom here. So we'll make sure if everyone would put their email in the chat, that would be an enormous help in keeping you notified.
No, go. Just go hear me.
Oh, and here's my husband, John Spence. He joined us.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
In all the years I've had the Rancho book, he's the only one that I've converted to your Rancho book reader. He did it out of survival, I think.
Oh, well, you're doing better than me. I wasn't able to convert my spouse.
Diane, when
Yes,
people put their names, their emails in the chat, they need to put their first and last name.
You did
Otherwise, it
that.
doesn't mean anything to me. For the
Oh.
chart, we need to know their real name along with their email.
well, I appreciate that. By the way, I would like you to meet Debbie is our secretary and she keeps
Oh.
track of everything.
A membership.
Membership. They got to merge for me because you do so much for us. Thank you, Debbie.
Oh, you're welcome.
And Phil Calabrese here at the top from my screen is our vice president. Hi, Phil, and hosting us so that we're all here for the thing with the thanks for Phil. And who else do we have here? Of course, Andrew is our publicity. Hi, wave, Andrew. So everyone, there we go.
Yeah, I've been kind of missing in action the last couple of years, but I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you. And he'll be
No.
doing the reading for us shortly. And there's Mark Erickson. Wave your hand, Mark. He's our treasurer and
Hey.
we do get to meet once a year at Thanksgiving. Put on a fabulous Thanksgiving dinner in person. And we have Thanksgiving dinner thanks to Mark and his crew. And there will be others showing up, so we'll introduce them as they arrive. So
The only person we haven't been able to get anything out of is Gene.
No, there are a lot of people now.
no, we may
A lot
have,
more people than that.
Oh, yeah.
No, he means as far as identifying their
Oh,
first
okay.
name.
so Clint, tell us about where you're from.
I am from the heart of America, Kansas, Wichita, Kansas, and your invitation, which I'm not sure if I'm worthy of getting, but I was sent one, said you felt, the group felt it was important to talk with individual societies. The society that covers Kansas, Nebraska, and Missouri is the Heart of America Society. And I didn't even know it existed until a couple of years ago. So I'm not a member of it and I can't represent it, but I'll report the events of this meeting to, I do attend their meetings and I'll report back to them.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. And,
Hi, Sky. Hi, Sky Waters. Sky is an active member of my study group.
I don't see, oh, there's Sky. Hi there. There you are.
You're muted now, though, Sky.
Hello.
Oh, there she is. Yeah, wave your hand so we know who you are.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Yes, a regular part of Phil has a study group on Wednesday nights in San Diego, and Sky Waters is a part of that.
Yes.
First and third Wednesday. First and third Wednesday of the month. Hey, hi, Dick. Dick Prince.
Oh, my goodness, Dick Prince. Oh, he's connecting. Great.
And I don't know who Dad is either. Do you know?
We'd love to see your face. And Jean.
Yeah, we haven't heard from Gene either.
But we can see Ted. Tell us about yourself, Ted.
Yes, my name is Ted McCade and I live in Sacramento, California. No study groups available, so I go to a local church and I have been for several years, but basically I've been a reader since 1975 when my brother Terry, if you know him,
Yeah.
know him, he's
Oh, my
still alive.
goodness. Yes, yes, yes. We know Terry.
And he's supposed to be on screen today because I just called him and reminded him of it. And
Thank you.
that's about all I have to say at this point. I was interested in what you folks are planning on doing.
Well, we're going to give it an earful shortly.
Okay.
And Lawrence? Are you there, Lawrence? Well, hopefully we'll hear from you in a little bit. And Timothy, I know you've been with us before in the past. Oh,
Yeah,
he's from Texas.
middle of Texas, nowhere near a study group.
Well, you know, we have study groups on Zoom now, so you can join my study group on first. and
Everybody
third
can come.
Wednesdays And on Zoom. I'm thinking of having in-person study some of the time periodically too, when maybe we wouldn't even have it on Zoom, just have a social period, maybe read something. But I think we need to be able to get together and press the flesh and maybe have a meal together and do that more regularly. I used to have that when we were meeting in person. We would have, we would have some dessert and we'd talk. But that's been curtailed because, in Zoom, it just doesn't seem to be the same atmosphere.
Agreed. Agreed.
Well, you're all welcome to join one of our three. We now have 3 groups going, and no matter where you are around the world, you can certainly Zoom in. And we just need to get your email so we can notify you of the link each time. It's such a delight to read with a group of people. I can't tell you how much it's spurring ahead my own spiritual understandings because of having a group input on a very difficult passage, which you cannot make head or tail of, but somebody can. So feel free to join us. Excuse me, get rid of that. The notice that you got about this meeting had on it the study groups and their phone numbers you can call to give your email address. To Phil or Mark has a group on Thursday nights. Right, raise your hand, Mark. So we'll be happy to share that information with each of you personally. Just put us to our email in and what you'd like us to do. And then we have a third group that is focused on personality unification with a wonderful teacher, Patrick Yesh, who gave a presentation about 3, 4, or 5, time does get by, 6 months ago. And it was such a favorite that we had a group that wanted to continue. So he has continued and they have continued, and they're about to resume in the new year on the 18th. And you won't want to miss that one too. So with that, we need to get on with our gathering so we can hear from our wonderful speaker. We'd like to have a reading from the book at each gathering because new people may be here who don't know much about the book, and they could come and leave without ever knowing anything about it unless we do a little sharing. So Andrew has picked out a very appropriate reading from the book, about 3 to 5 minutes at the most, about life on a neighboring planet. Something to do with some struggles we're dealing with here. So Andrew, you take it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this topic was chosen for me, and so I appreciate that. So I looked through the paper 72, Government on a Neighboring Planet, and I'm going to read a little bit from the intro to that to get us all, oriented, and then a little bit on the home life situation in that, and then a little bit on their educational system and how this organization, how the neighboring planet deals with integration of all their nations. And my goal with reading through these is just to shed some light on get some insights as to how these organizations work and what principles they're guided by, and maybe that will help our organization, the Urantia Book Brotherhood and the Foundation and all the various societies around the world work with each other to grow and culminate and spread the word of what the Urantia Book is all about, and hopefully become stronger and more supportive of each other. And so anyway, I won't go on too long about why we're doing this, just do it. So paper 72, Government on a Neighboring Planet, starts out by saying, by permission of Lana Forge and with the approval of the Most Highs of Edentia, I am authorized to narrate something of the social, moral, and political life of the most advanced human race living on a not far distant planet belonging to the Satania system. Of all Satania worlds, which became isolated because of the participation in the Lucifer Rebellion, this planet has experienced a history most like that of Urantia. The similarity of the two spheres undoubtedly explains why permission to make this extraordinary presentation was granted, for it is most unusual for the system rulers to consent to the narration of one planet of the affairs to the other, of another. This planet, like Urantia, was led astray by the disloyalty of its planetary prince in connection with the Lucifer Rebellion. It received a material sun shortly after Adam came to Urantia, and this sun also defaulted, leaving the sphere isolated, since a magisterial sun has never been bestowed upon its mortal races. The continental nation, notwithstanding that these planetary handicaps, a very superior civilization is evolving on an isolated continent about the size of Australia. This nation numbers 140 million. Its people are mixed race, predominantly blue and yellow, having a slightly greater proportion of violet than the so-called white race of Urantia. These different races are not yet fully blended, but they fraternize and socialize very acceptably. The average length of life is now 90 years and 15% higher than that of any other people on the planet. The industrial mechanism of this nation enjoys a certain great advantage derived from unique topography of the continent. The high mountains on which heavy rains fall 8 months out of the year are situated at the very center of the country. So these people are self-sustained and they can live indefinitely without importing anything from surrounding nations. This continent nation in general followed the evolutionary trend of the planet development from the tribal stage to the appearance of strong rulers and kings occupied thousands of years. Similar to ours. Then I'm going to jump ahead here to talk about the home life because there's an interesting section in here on how the home is organized. And on this continent, it's against the law for two families to live under the same roof. And since group dwellings have been outlawed, most of the tenement type buildings have been demolished. But the unmarried still live in clubs, hotels, and other group dwellings. The smallest home site permitted must provide 50,000 square feet of land. All the land and other property are used for home purposes or free from taxation, up to 10 times the minimum home site allotment. The home life of this people is greatly improved during the last century. Attendance of parents, both fathers and mothers, and parental schools of child culture is compulsory. Even the agriculturalists who reside in small country settlements carry on this work by correspondence, going to the nearby centers for oral instruction once in 10 days. Until 20 years of age, until 20 years ago, the spiritual teachers, and this is interesting that they have these spiritual teachers comparable to Urantia pastors. They visit each family periodically to examine the children to ascertain if they have been properly instructed by their parents and were under governmental supervision. These spiritual advisors and examiners are now under the direction of the newly created Foundation of Spiritual Progress, an institution supported by voluntary contributions. Possibly this institution may not further evolve until after the arrival of a paradise magisterial son. Hold on.
Well, that may about cover it, Andrew.
Well, I'm probably out of time, but I wanted to get to that point where we talked about a little bit about this idea that one of the things that they say in dealing with all the other nations on this planet, and let me end with that, that at the very end of this, they talk about that just now the superior government is planning to establish an ambassadorial relations with the inferior peoples. And for the first time, a great religious leader has arisen who advocates the sending of missionaries to these surrounding nations. We fear that they are about to make the mistake that so many others have made when they have endeavored to force a superior culture and religion upon other races. What a wonderful thing could be done on this world if this continental nation of advanced culture would only go out and bring to itself the best of the neighboring peoples, and then, after educating them, send them back as emissaries of the culture to their benighted brethren. Of course, if a magisterial son should soon come to this advanced nation, great things could quickly happen on this world. So, that's a kind of walk through on some of the things that are happening on a governing in the governmental and family organization and educational system of a neighboring planet. And I just find it interesting that they would kind of do what they did with Eden, where they brought people into Eden, taught them, and then sent them back out and to send emissaries out to other, to teach. That we on this planet are in a place where we have universal communication like this, where we can reach out to meet people around the world in an instant. And but I like this model of bringing people in and and educating them and then sending them out as missionaries rather than trying to be ultra evangelistic. And
That's a good tip, a good twist on education. I could use that in some projects, other projects. So thank you very much for pointing that out, Andrew.
oh, my pleasure. Well, thanks for inviting me to say something about it. And I didn't, spend a lot of time preparing, but
Thanks to me, I didn't give you much notice.
that's right. Appreciate it.
Well, Phil, maybe we can now move to your topic. I do want to mention that this is a general meeting of our society as well, and that there is an election, which due to wonderful technology is being handled off screen. So Zoom is a more amazing thing in collecting the votes from those who are eligible to vote. And so those of you who are getting the ballots, just be sure and return them in a timely way. We do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And Phil, what would you like to tell us now?
Well, of course, before we have our main speaker, I'd like to honor the request of Jesus on the last day before, his Last Supper. He asked us when we get together to remember him. And what was he doing? He said, he raised some bread and broke it, gave it to his apostles, and said, "My life in the flesh is the bread of life. All of you eat of it." He didn't say, "Eat my body," but he said, "My life in the flesh is the bread of life." And later on, he lifted a glass of wine and passed it around, and he said, this is the emblem of a new dispensation in grace and truth. And I won't drink again of the fruit of the vine until I drink it in new form with you in our Father's kingdom. And and he said, when you come together, do this in remembrance of me. This is our spiritual way of being together every time we're together in this kind of way. It's a way to be together with Jesus, the presence of Jesus. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. And we are together, and all of our thought adjusters are watching as well. And I'm sure that they appreciate that remembrance, which it must have been very significant because he made a big deal of it at the time. So however we carry
It's our
that on.
symbolic rendezvous with Jesus. And when he left, he said, "I'm going to send you the Comforter, the Spirit of truth." And that happened on Pentecost, when every truth lover was endowed with this new presence. And of course, the apostles were so enthusiastic. They went out and started talking about Jesus, and they had 2,000 converts that day. So thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you.
So now it's my pleasure to introduce a fellow discoverer of the Urantia book from the early 1970s, 50 years ago. In the meantime, Tom Allen had received a bachelor's in philosophy from Oklahoma State in 1974, and later a master's and a bachelor's in nursing from the University of Oklahoma. He is a registered nurse. He's also adjunct professor at Oklahoma City University, teaching clinical nursing. He's a member of the Urantia Book Society of Oklahoma. He hosts a study group every Sunday night at his home with his wife, Karen. He's the author of several books. He's now chairing the Sizer Committee. This is the special committee investigating constitutional revision of the Urantia Book Fellowship Constitution. So with that, I give you my good friend, Tom Allen.
Well, Phil, thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, that's true. The other thing I do, I'm into cosmology, as you can tell by my background here. And I do have a book on that you can get at Amazon if you're ever really interested in an in-depth study of cosmology.
Well, tell us the name of the book.
The Great Debate on the Scale of Orvonton.
Whoa.
It's not an easy study, I guarantee you that. It's pretty hard to pull it all together, but it's a lot of fun. And the James Webb Telescope is probably going to help us out a lot to debunk mainly some stuff that is currently not coherent with the Urantia book. So, I mean, it's just always a work in progress, and I just can't wait to see what happens. So, yes, I am. I'm the chairman of the Psycho Committee, the special, the select committee. I'm going to talk about that later. But first of all, I mean, I don't want to bore you all with all this constitutional stuff at first. First, I want to make. I have a little email group that I send out compares. And I send them out irregularly, but what they are is they are a comparison between some famous author and something that's very similar and analogous in the Urantia book. And so that's what I'm doing tonight. I'm going to make a comparison. So let's see if you can figure out what that comparison is as I go along. Actually, the name of this talk in the beginning is actually In the Image of God. In the Image of God. So bear with me as I share a bit of philosophical thinking about the validity of socio-religious organization. It is a fact that we are made in the image of God. And this is stated twice in Genesis, twice in the New Testament, and 14 times in the Urantia papers. So the image of God does not refer to the physical likeness, nor to the circumscribed limitations of material creature endowment, but rather to the gift of the Spirit, a presence of the universal Father in the supernal bestowal of the thought adjusters upon the humble creatures of the universes. So, as Diane said, look around. Everybody here is made in the image of God. Isn't this a beautiful thing? And the primary way that we are made in God's image is because as a father, he has bestowed his pre-personal presence upon each of us. And living in the image of God means progress and eventually perfection. And without this bestowal of his image, we are powerless to progress. I would also add that we are made in his image by the fact that he has bestowed personality upon us all. However, this image of God in our souls is not the only way that we are made in the image of God. Following the stupendous fact that he has bestowed both personality and his thought adjuster spirit upon us, such lowly animals like you and me. Many areas of our lives are profoundly similar. They're profoundly similar as examples that we are individually and collectively in God's image. Mortal man is more than figuratively made in the image of God. From a physical standpoint, this statement is hardly true. But with reference to certain universe potentialities, it is an actual fact. In the human race, something of the same drama of evolutionary attainment is being unfolded as takes place on a vastly larger scale in the universe of universes. So, my friends, let's have a little fun now. Let's look at a few examples of how we are created and function in God's image as a consequence to his indwelling. So let's look at a few of these examples. How about male and female? Are we made in God's image that way? The oneness of the Father, Son, joined together in the creation of the infinite Spirit. Michael expressed this species variety with the creation of Adams and Eves. The Son Spirit age that we are in today is expressed as Michael and our Mother Spirit. It follows we too are made in the image of God. So, well, let's look at another one. I think that's another. Let's look at another one. How about the home? Well, this goes with family and children, a place to reside in a neighborhood of safety, comfort, and socialization. Paradise is certainly a great home for deity. Don't you know God's comfortable there? He won't even leave. Feels so wonderful. So there's another image. We have home, God has home. How about marriage? Well, it's the ideal institution, the oneness of the Father, Son. Michael alone created the Adams and Eves, whose family life is reflective of this ideal. Michael and Mother Spirit entered into a proclamation of equality, which is an ideal for us mortals to engage in our marriages. Again, a great, great image of God. How about children? Our great gift of natural love for sons and daughters raised in the image of loyal parents. The universal Father has the joy and love to have a near infinite number of children whom he loves each one with a supernal affection. Now, I've only had 4 children, and he's got infinite number of them. So, but he is really into children, and we are we are those. What a great image. Now, this is kind of funny. I mean, don't make it land on all 4s here, but you know, most humans wear clothes, right? And most perform their toiletries alone, right? Okay, well, God has the impenetrable nether paradise and the zone of infinity, and we can't go there. It's not open to us, okay? He does all his functioning there. So that's just kind of a funny one, but it is somewhat illustrative of the image of God. Well, how about anatomy? Now, this is really powerful one. The fourth center in nether paradise seems to act as a gigantic heart, pulsations circulating throughout all of physical space. Space respiration. We breathe. God breathes. Every 2 billion years. I mean, it just takes me a couple seconds. Our neural pathways correspond to the nature of reflectivity, and power centers have regulatory mechanisms. We too are also regulated in the way the electrochemical balance in our bodies maintain homeostasis, which is balance. The universe is a living organism. Energy lanes circulate energy, just as our circulation distributes energy and chemistry to energize our bodies. We are certainly made in the image of God this way. Well, there are many other ways that the image of God is reflected in our lives. And so, can you think of any others? Well, I got a bunch of them here, but I'm obviously not going to go through them because it would take all night. Because we are in God's image in so many ways. Work, in affliction. In all your afflictions, I am afflicted. So, justice, teamwork. That's the watchword of the universe. Satisfaction, power, personality synthesis. We're doing it personally. Supreme's doing it, and God did it in eternity. Socialization, well, my gosh, yes, we need to get together more and more and more. And these Zoom meetings are a great way to do it. And hopefully we can get together more personally in the future, in person. Curiosity, God's curious, we're curious. He wouldn't have made the finite universe if he wasn't curious what it would be like to make a finite world. Friendship, we're all friends. Jesus said in that final meeting that he had with the apostles, you are all my friends. So friendship is a wonderful thing. So in the image of God, we are made. So now let's see where this is going. So now that we have seen how the image of God is universal, so let's look at how the fellowship and other socio-religious organizations justify authenticity in the image of God. Here comes the comparisons. How about justice and administration? Justice is never personal, here or on Paradise. It is an impersonal group function. The Paradise Trinity is a corporation holding all universe investments and provides patterns of justice and administration for the entire universe. The image of God in the Trinity is where justice and administration have their origin. The Trinity functions in the grand universe on relatively decreasing divinity levels. Urantian justice and administration are in the shadowy image of Paradise perfection. So the absolutely perfect, infinite, and eternal in the finite universe, the ancients of days, the perfecters of wisdoms, the trinitized sons of attainment, the technical advisors, conciliating commissions, the unions of souls, and many, many others are all hard at work to ensure perfecting super-universe administration. Jesus certainly demonstrated and spoke on justice as a group decision many times in his teachings and actions. And there's a good remembrance for you, Phil. He really did that. What a wonderful guy Jesus was. So, in God's image, we Urantians have our executive, legislative, and judicial functions, imperfect as they are, but progress is the watchword of the universe. So how do the Urantia papers justify this image of justice and administration on the lowly worlds of space? The answer? Separation of powers. The only sacred feature of any human government is the division of statehood into the three domains of executive, legislative, and judicial functions. The universe is administered in accordance with such a plan of segregation of functions and authority. Aside from this divine concept of effective social regulation or civil government, it matters little what form of state a people may elect to have, provided the citizenry is ever progressing toward the goal of augmented self-control and increased social service. So some will argue that this quote is only relevant to statehood and not to social organizations, but I disagree. The highlights here on this slide give credence to both socio-religious organizations as well as statehood. So, Jesus sanctioned the apostles of Jesus and John when they came together to organize themselves. And as long as they all agreed, he would go along with their decisions. So here it is, the apostles creating a socio-religious organization. And Jesus went along with them. Many other minor matters were considered and their solutions unanimously agreed upon. These 24 men had a truly remarkable experience these 2 weeks when they were compelled to face problems and compose difficulties without Jesus. They learned to differ, to debate, to contend, to pray, and to compromise, and throughout it all, to remain sympathetic with the other person's viewpoint, and to maintain at least some degree of tolerance for his honest opinions. Now, Phil, you're on Sychard. Would you agree that that's what we do?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, we do.
And this is the story of the first attempt of Jesus's followers to coordinate divergent efforts, compose differences of opinion, and organize group undertakings, legislate on outward observances, and socialize personal religious practices. Now, that was the first attempt. There have been millions of attempts in Christianity since then, and we are the latest to do so. Well, Jesus sanctioned the apostles of Jesus and John to organize themselves, and as long as they all agreed, he would go along with them. So how does this relate to the creation of a constitution for the fellowship? Well, it justifies the foundational organization of religion. All social organizations have some form of bylaws to expedite their missions. Churches, mosques, synagogues, for example, they all have some form of regulation that keeps their group organized. And it makes sense that they would do that. So next, we're going to look at Jesus and justice. Now, this is something that Jesus actually sanctioned for religio-social organizations that certainly were probably mostly related to him. And that makes it true that it's mainly related to us. The Father in heaven, this is what he said, Jesus' words. The Father in heaven loves his children, all of us. And therefore, should you learn to love one another. The Father in heaven forgives you your sins. Therefore, should you learn to forgive one another. If your brother sins against you, go to him and, with tact and tolerance, show him his fault. And do this between you and him alone. If he will listen to you, then you have won your brother. But if your brother will not hear you, if he persists in the errors of his ways, go again to him, taking with you one or two mutual friends, that you may have 2 or even 3 witnesses to confirm your testimony and establish the fact that you have dealt justly and mercifully with your offending brother. Now, if he refuses to hear your brethren, you may tell the whole story to the congregation. And then, if he refuses to hear the brotherhood, let them take such action as they deem wise. Such an elderly member becomes an outcast from the kingdom. It has been committed to your hands that you should maintain temporal order in the kingdom of earth, on earth, while you may not meddle with the divine decrees concerning eternal life. You shall determine the issues of conduct as they concern the temporal welfare of the brotherhood on earth. And so, in all these matters connected with the discipline of the brotherhood, whatsoever you shall decree on earth shall be recognized in heaven. Although you cannot determine the eternal fate of the individual, you may legislate regarding the conduct of the group. Powerful. I mean, this is just straightforward from Jesus. Thus, did Jesus teach the dangers and illustrate the unfairness of sitting in personal judgment upon one's fellows. Jesus invested legislative and judicial authority in the group and not in the individual. So there it goes. It's okay to have a congregation, and it's okay to have bylaws, and it's okay to legislate and have judicial functions within that organization. So now that I have, what I'd like to do is talk what the Urantia book says now about what is what we should do to socialize our religion, because there is a real purpose in the socialization of religion. It is the purpose of group religious activities to dramatize the loyalties of religion, to magnify the lures of truth, beauty, and goodness, to foster the attractions of supreme values, to enhance the service of unselfish fellowship, to glorify the potentials of family life, to promote religious education, to provide wise counsel and spiritual guidance, and to encourage group worship. And all live religions encourage human friendship, conserve morality, promote neighborhood welfare, and facilitate the spread of the essential gospel of their respective messages of eternal salvation. Now, these are wonderful, wonderful ideals for any socio-religious organization. And really, the fellowship needs to live up to these ideals. We need to have these purposes come to life in the fellowship in a very real and meaningful way. However, but as religion becomes institutionalized, the power for good is curtailed, while the possibilities for evil are greatly multiplied. The dangers of formalized religion are fixation of beliefs and crystallization of sentiments, accumulation of vested interests, and with increase of secularization, the tendency to standardize and fossilize truth, diversion of religion from the service of God to the service of the church, inclination of leaders to become administrators instead of ministers, tendency to form sects and competitive divisions, establishment of oppressive ecclesiastical authority, creation of aristocratic chosen people attitude, fostering of false and exaggerated ideas of sacredness, the routinizing of religion and the petrification of worship, the tendency to venerate the past while ignoring present demands, failure to make up-to-date interpretations of religion, entanglement with functions of secular institutions. It creates the evil discrimination of religious castes. It becomes an intolerant judge of orthodoxy. It fails to hold the interests of adventurous youth and gradually loses the saving message of the gospel of eternal salvation. Now, I've highlighted the ones that I think the modern day fellowship could possibly be guilty of. I mean, I don't want it to be guilty of these things, but the point is we need to make sure that these things don't happen and that we overcome them. That, you know, the very last one's probably one that we all really need to work on. And that's the one that we're failing to hold the interest of adventurous youth. And we're gradually losing that saving message of the gospel of eternal salvation. So we just can't let that happen, folks. But we got to begin to really bring aboard young people, make them interested in the fellowship, get them on board to be of service in a collective way. And I think we will. But here's some more negatives. Formal religion restrains men in their personal spiritual activities instead of releasing them for heightened service as kingdom builders. While it is true that the institutionalization of religion is usually detracted from its spiritual quality, it is also a fact that no religion has thus far succeeded in surviving without the aid of institutional organization of some degree, greater or lesser. Well, has the day come when we no longer need the institution of religion, that our spiritual quality can be done without it? I don't think so. I think we need institutional religion, and I think that we need it to function well. And that is an ideal for the fellowship to follow. So, with that being said, I'd like to go on with further thoughts about the origin, history, and destiny of the Urantia Fellowship. Let's look at a few things that were said in the early days. In 1982, Paul Snyder mentioned these principles that guided the Brotherhood in the beginning. Note that he did not mention societies, which are constitutional, but he did mention thousands of study groups, which are not in the Constitution. He wrote, the Urantia Brotherhood was created to serve 5 broad purposes: to disseminate the Urantia book, to foster the development of thousands of study groups, to preempt the formation of other Urantia Brotherhoods, to satisfy a hunger for identification and belonging among believers, to do everything possible to achieve the goals set down in Article 2, which is the purpose of the Brotherhood Constitution, which can be roughly summarized as the spiritual transformation of mankind. Warren Kulicke was president of the Urantia Brotherhood back in 1960. And he wrote in 1960, the value and significance of the Brotherhood organization. The writers of the Constitution of Urantia Brotherhood carefully and deliberately provided for an institution with a strong central over-control, while at the same time establishing the autonomy of the individual societies. So, my friends, that is where we started. And in the last years, since 1960, gradually the fellowship grew. societies grew. We got up to about 27 Urantia societies, local societies. And so it was very functional in those early days because we were all so on fire. There were so many of us that came on board in the late 60s and the 1970s. And we were all on fire, and the fellowship or the brotherhood was really, and the foundation was all there really was for us to gather around and become energized by wanting to do something with this amazing epical revelation that we also thoroughly believe in. And everybody here also tonight thoroughly, I'm sure, thoroughly believes in this revelation and believes it has a great, great long future, all the way to the post-bestowal sun age. I'm telling you, this thing's gonna last a while. It's not going away. So it grew, and slowly but surely, we got older. And new people stopped coming in. They started finding other ways to serve. Societies dwindled. And to this date, there's probably only about 13 to 17 societies that are really active, and some of those are not very active either. Some of them are very, very strong. My society in Oklahoma is very, very strong. But you know what? We're getting old. So until we get some new people involved, we're gonna keep on working hard to get the Urantia book out in Oklahoma. But slowly but surely, societies are diminishing. So, I mean, back in the early days, they were just worried about other organizations that might come along to preempt them. And they did not see that the internal turmoil would eventually tear the brotherhood and the foundation apart. They never saw that coming. We still live in the aftermath of a horrible disunity that resulted from a horrible power struggle within the Urantia movements that lasted from the 1970s and 80s. And today we're still living in that aftermath to some degree. We're getting older though, and I think a new generation is gonna not be so dysfunctional about disunity. That's my prayer. So the fellowship now is a membership organization. We have witnessed over the years that the society model for the fellowship is just not as viable as was envisioned by the creators of the original Brotherhood Constitution. Many societies are still strong, but there's been an erosion of many, and some are no longer functional. It has been a while since we have had any new societies. The time has come to revise our outdated constitution and create a constitution that promotes living, loving, learning, and sharing the Urantia book and its teachings. As a result of the growing belief that our present constitution is archaic, what happened was the 2021 Triennial Delegate Assembly passed a resolution to investigate constitutional revision. Well, this committee, SICR, was subsequently established by the General Counsel. SICR will rise and report on our findings by the 2024 regular meeting of the General Counsel. I was appointed the chair of this committee, and 12 voting members were elected with Jeff Deese as adjunct to consult and support our efforts. We meet bi-monthly. Well, there are many, many ideas you can imagine that are being fielded by a very earnest group of thinkers. This is a monumental task, and we will take every minute of time it will take every minute of time for us to come to anything close to consensus. And luckily, we have a lot of time. 2024 is right around the corner in some ways. But our accomplishments so far in our committee are the submission of a few amendments, minor amendments really, to the General Council to consider our winter meeting in Nashville. We've recently had a hearing for the General Council to go over these, and in Nashville, we will try to do a little work on them. So also, we spent a full year. I mean, this are 21 thinkers, right? 21 thinkers, and we spent a full year working and debating and revising Article 2, which is our purpose, the purpose statement. And we're desiring to make it more focused, something that anybody can read in 30 seconds and understand it, believe it, and really love it. Right now, our purpose, it's a beautiful purpose in our Constitution. I really do still love it. It is long and it is tedious and it has difficult language. And if you read it, I dare you to repeat any of it. Yeah. However, if we can get a good focused purpose that really manifests the very same purposes really in our original purpose, but in a more focused way,
Yes.
it will be a wonderful, wonderful thing. I really believe. And so we're going to work on that. I guarantee you, the General Council is going to have a word or two to say about it. But, we're going to be undaunted. And that's, we're agondauners, and agondauners mean we live through agony and we're undaunted. So remember, I think that's where they coined that word.
Never heard that before.
Well, it's a nice one. We will remain a membership organization in some way or another, but the specifics on how that will be constitutional is still under debate. Teamwork, success in our organization, the fellowship, it always turns very slowly. Whenever you have a religious organization, it turns slowly compared to an organization like the Urantia Foundation, which is strictly operates as a board. And they can do as a board whatever they wish. Boom, it's done. Instead of having the process, the constitutional process, the group teamwork, the executive, legislative, and judicial functions that bring together the teamwork of the best ideas for what our customers, membership, can do to be volunteers of bringing together great ideas to improve our maintenance of this organization to achieve these great purposes of living, loving, and sharing these great teachings, which aren't going away. So, the fellowship is a social organization with a religious objective. That's an old statement from the early days, and it's still true. A social organization with a religious objective. We all believe that the Urantia book, the Urantia Revelation, is definitely going to survive and thrive throughout this universe age. And the fellowship can be a strong vehicle to bring forth a socio-religious movement that brings our precious revelation to the world. Our efforts to simplify our Constitution, I guarantee we need to simplify it. It is complicated. This will hopefully bear fruits, what we do. Luckily, we have plenty of time to get it right, and we're going to keep working on it. And this group in Sychar is dedicated. I'm telling you, we all show up for our meetings. We all contribute. It's wonderful the way this committee works. So we are rebuilding the Fellowship Cathedral, and we're doing it with the bricks of service and the mortar of love. The fellowship will thrive into the future just as surely as the epical revelation we cherish is destined to remake the world of the cross. My friends, oh gosh, I got my thing. I got my bread here. You can't see my chalice though. Let me put it in front of me. There you can see it. I got the chalice, the Michael Chalice. He's a friend of mine. No, this is a chalice that represents the water of life and of course the bread. So thanks, Philip, for bringing that up. We do remember Jesus. He is the reason we are doing this. He is the reason we believe that this revelation is going to go into the future and that we're going to make it stronger. And so I'd like to open it up to Q&A at this point, and anything specific you'd like to know or anything that you'd like to clarify or wonder about, let's go. I'll go ahead, and if you raise your hands, I'll call on you. How about that?
There are some members of the committee here as well. Phil is a member of that committee. Is there any other members here?
Gosh, looks like, and since I've been talking, I guess, yeah, Phil's the only one. Phil's the only one on the committee.
Looks like Doreen has a question.
Yes,
Oh,
thank
hi,
you.
Doreen.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation, Tom. It was excellent. My question is to you. I remember you have an interfaith committee, and over the years, the only thing they did was go to the NAIN conferences, but I was wondering, what have you done since? What is that interfaith committee actively doing? Is it anything has changed?
Well, you'd have to ask Barbara Newsom. She's the chair of that committee. And well, they're going to have a big presence in they're really working hard to be at the Parliament of Religions. It's going to be 10 days after the IC23, which I encourage you all to sign up for. I'd love to see you all there. Yeah. But that's one thing for sure that they're doing big time.
Yeah, but are they speaking? The thing is to have a table. We've always had a table at the Parliament. I've gone to 3 of them over the years. And yes, it attracts a lot of people, but there is 10,000 people at these parliaments. So you understand, it really is great. The thing is, individuals, when people come to tables and they talk to you, it's not the same as getting involved in the different areas of religious institutions. Is that where you go? I mean, I don't know. What about like AA or NA or these groups, because they're more spiritually prone as well to put our influence in there.
Well, I'm going to put you in touch with Barbara. It sounds like you need to be on that committee.
Now, I'm on the committee with Barbara already on the Global Endeavor. So I know I could talk to her. Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was on your committee though.
So she's the IFC, the Interfaith Committee chair.
Thank you so much, Don.
Yeah. Diane.
Yes, I have a question about the societies. I know the stance is that they should be totally autonomous and independent, but that then results in there being no coordination between the fellowship thoughts and principles and the societies and the needs of the societies in communication with the fellowship. So is this like any company's home office and branch offices, there does need to be some kind of coordination and understanding of what the ground rules are and what we're about, some kind of organizing principles that we all are on an understanding of. So what is the committee's thoughts on their relationship with the societies?
Well, that is a great question, Diane, because it is really going to be central because it really involves membership. The idea of membership. Right now, the Constitution of the Fellowship, there's only 2 forms of membership. One, the Constitution was set up to have societies create membership. The members of societies were members of the fellowship. But they also realized that some people were far away and they needed to make members at large. Well, society membership as a model for membership exclusively with this nebulous membership at large is a model that's really not working really well right now. And we have not come to any conclusions about what we want to do. I can tell you what I think should happen. Phil can tell you what he thinks should happen. And 19 other members of that committee can tell you what they think should happen. And we have a subcommittee that's going to work on membership in societies because they are like that. Membership and societies are like this in terms of what we do constitutionally. Now, right now, the only thing societies have is they have this triennial delegate assembly where they can get together every 3 years and elect general counselors. That's the way it's set up. Now, they can also make resolutions that the general council is supposed to address. And that's what happened with the Cycle Committee. They made a resolution. And that's why we're here today to make this new constitutional revision investigation. So what we want to do we want to do it? I mean, there's ideas to demolish completely the triennial delegate assembly and replace that with societies with the ability to appoint one of their own to the general council. So all societies would definitely have representation in the society, in the fellowship general council. Right now, there is no representation, really, direct representation of any kind. This has come up before and it failed to pass the general council. But I'm in favor of that, but who knows what the 20 other people on this committee are going to want to finally come up with. But we're going to debate it, and any ideas that any of you all have, I really encourage you. Let us know what you think.
Well,
Because
I have found that there is a turnover, of course, of boards. We've gotten older and new members come, and so you have to rebuild your board constantly and be recruiting constantly. And the new people who come in may or may not have administrative skills. Or now it's vital to have technical skills as well to function at all. And so there needs to be some support of the societies in maintaining that kind of expertise, because you always have to have a technical kind of person on your board. And if there were a central place to go and get that technical expertise, that would then enable societies to continue to exist, as opposed to some that broke my heart when they had to close.
yeah, well, I mean, for example, you've mentioned that Jeff Teese has given you all the electronic ability to make elections. I mean, this is the kind of thing, and our society has been given a Zoom account that we can use for our hybrid study groups. And, you know, the fellowship is willing to do anything for societies, basically, if you'll just ask. And Jeff is just, he is an Energizer bunny. I'm telling you, he is absolutely working hard to save the fellowship money, to reach out. And I think the societies can really, and I agree with you, new blood is really, really, really important. And I really believe that we can work to serve societies in greater ways in the future. And I think, you know, Jeff's expertise is one definite way to do it. Any other thoughts?
I'd like to hear some other thoughts from folks about all of this.
All right, Nadreen, anything else?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, our society is, that's the Society of Greater New York, has always had several members on the General Council, and they have done translations and, you know, fundraisers for that. So they were pretty active, but many of the members have graduated now, and the rest are getting, you know, up there. And so, you know, it really does change. And people have, I think during, say, the COVID, a lot of people have lost interest because life has changed. So you got to give it some slack. And, you're doing a good job, I guess, reviving things and getting them stimulated. But there's got to be an impetus. Maybe the conferences this summer, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I believe that I could see there's not that desire anymore like there used to be, because there are so many things going on in the organizations. Everybody is doing, I don't have time even to read. I get 50 emails a day. It's like, oh my God, what's happening here and what's doing there, and join us and do this. It is really full, but you just don't have maybe the younger people, as you have indicated, that are all inspired, So I'm not sure. I know people work in the jails with criminals, but that doesn't help us. They're trying. I myself try individually, going out, and I meet lots of people, and I'm pretty outgoing, and I have I've brought many, many people onto the book. Interest anyway. I don't follow up with all of them because it's just as Jesus passed by. You dropped a seed, you talk here. But there has to be something more, and I really look forward to hearing what your committee has come up with, some new ideas. I think it has to be something. You're right. I think every society should have a representative. But even in our society, with all the representatives, I tell you, they don't necessarily come back and give us any great report. But our new president has gone directly to Jeff, and she brings back lots and lots of information. So you're right. You have to find those people who are very stimulated and enthusiastic and just, filled with the fire. You're dealing with them. So I'm looking forward to see what the outcome is, and love to hear more about what you have accomplished so far. Thank you.
Okay. We will definitely let you know. It's also, you can go to the fellowship website, and all of our meetings, we have open meetings. You can bore yourself all you want by looking at our meetings and see what we're really doing. That's if you like to see sausage being made, Phil.
Well, I did want to include my idea of what societies ought to be, since it's been mentioned. The word is used in the generic sense as, the society of the astronomical society, or the chemical society, or the anthropology society, and the physicists, the society of physicists, and the society of chemists, and the society. There's a mathematical society. In fact,
What's the point?
So the point is that our societies could have a particular function related to the Urantia book. People who want to do something with the physics expressed in the Urantia book, or the chemistry, or the paleontology, etc. So, there's a lot of material in there that relates to specific areas. It could be, religious as well as secular. And we could have societies that are defined to do something, to to expose or to reveal what the Urantia book says about all these topics. So a society could be, more defined in that sense, because young people want to do something. They don't just want to be a member of something. They want it. And if you have a specific purpose of your society along those lines, then I think maybe you could then have more involvement of young people. And I think we could reduce all the requirements that societies have, or at least some of them, some of those requirements, so it isn't so hard. I don't know why we need 10 people,
Yeah.
et cetera. So,
Thank you, Bill. Carol has her hand up too.
Yeah, Carol Ray.
I think Phil just answered one of my questions. I'm really glad I attended tonight because I'd never thought about being part of one of the societies. And there's really no awareness in my consciousness about, even joining a society. We've had, a study group for 15 years. And like I was saying, I've been a reader for a long time. But I'm wondering, I think I did look at it one time, and I think like Bill had mentioned, it looked kind of complicated, so I haven't thought about it since then. But I'm wondering, what are the advantages to being a society? And maybe if there's a way to, communicate that with your general reader, then you might have more people interested.
Well, personally, Carol Ray, I really believe that the way the Constitution is now, there really isn't that much for societies to do except to be members of the fellowship and thereby be eligible to be elected into governance if they want to be. There is a TDA, and that's where they choose the general counselors as a body. But I really believe that we need to get more incentive for societies to join the fellowship and to be more. That's why I'm in for direct representation, but we'll see where that goes. But right now, there really isn't much incentive for it because there was in the early days when there weren't very many of us. I mean, we were it, and we made it happen. But now, like you say, everything's scattering, everything's going out. Look at all the organizations that Doreen was talking about. I mean, there's the Christ Experiment, there's the Meta Universe, there's the Diane Lebrecht's organization, there's all kinds of, and you know what? All those organizations are based on Jesus. They want to bring Jesus to the world. Now, the difference between the fellowship and those organizations is that we are not concentrating solely on Jesus. We concentrate on the study and the dissemination of the Urantia book. And that is a holistic thing for us. The whole book, because the whole book is what is meant to be the future for the religio organizational constitution of the fellowship in the future. So we'll see what happens, but one day at a time. But that's a good question, Carol Ray. Jack.
How, so I don't know how to raise my hand informally, but what timeline are you on to change that from what I thought I heard you say is that, currently it's functioning as a board, but you want to bring more representative government functions. It have a 3-form constitution section, representative government form, right? But that has to be voted on by the board to be instituted, or what's the plan?
Well, actually, we're not solely, like I said, the Urantia Foundation is a board, and that's where they make their decisions, period.
Right.
The fellowship is not. It is a congregational organization that, we are considering making a tripartite government out of it, where the judicial, executive, and legislative.
Out of which? The fellowship or the board?
The fellowship.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought you were talking about changing the current structure of the foundation.
No, we have nothing.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I was confused on.
I
thought you were talking about changing the structure of the foundation, and that's why I was asking, well, Wow, that's an interesting idea. When, when will that occur? Okay, but no, I'm with you too on having it more constitutional or vote, having representation in the fellowship as well. Yeah.
I believe Jack has his hand up.
Um,
That makes sense.
Diane has her hand up.
Well, Jack was next. He's had his hand up a while. Jack Miller.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
sorry. I didn't know how to put my hand up.
It's in reaction.
Technology.
Hey, Tom, great presentation. Love all your hard work and diligence. We have our society, I'm part of the ABC Society of South Florida. And, in the beginning, we used to do a lot of things. We were actually the Florida students of the Arancha book because we didn't want to join with the fellowship or the foundation. When we joined, that whole rift was going on. And a few years ago, we became a society and disbanded the FSUB. The difficulty is getting anybody to do anything. For 25 years in a row, we did the Miami Book Fair, and sometimes, myself and another person would be the only ones there. And we begged to get people to come on down, help, have fun, play. And that's all they would do, come down and play, but not work for good. But I appreciate what you're saying. Let's simplify things. And how do you get people to help you? I'm reading a book right now, and it's like just trying to get people to assist me. And, my book, I think, will really go a long way in helping to bring some young people into the Urantia book movement. But just trying to get assistance has been a real challenge, just in the way of, reviewing papers, mental work, study groups. It's fun, and I appreciate the fact that you're out here challenging the system and trying to build something new. We do need, part of my book is about rights, responsibilities, and regulations, and nobody wants to be regulated, but their regulations are absolutely essential to get people to be responsible, to have the rights that we have of this freedom of religion, of democracy that is so ours. So thank you for your hard work. I appreciate it.
Well, that's it. I think we're still operating under, we're being infected by a depression from the breakup that occurred back in the early 90s. And as a result, people are just not motivated like they used to be. And we need to get that verve back, Diane?
I'm going to call on myself here. I have a view of societies, having been very much involved with the Los Angeles Society for decades, shall I say. And it says, I see the societies as the most essential part of the Urantia Fellowship, in that they're the schools that do the teaching and the study groups that do the teaching. You learn what's in the book, and you learn it well. And then the book says, but sooner or later, you have to do something. And the doing is what the societies are about. Gloria Ann Harris was wonderful in her little talk in one of your meetings that I recorded, where she says the societies are where the power is, because we're out there face to face with the readers. And she says they're out there starting schools and starting study groups and nurturing study groups. And in the case of our society, we feel strongly about getting people together, getting readers together to sit down at a table and share a meal and talk face to face with each other. And as the book says, get to know each other and love each other and develop friendships. And that being the supreme, the wonderful quote, the supreme purpose of life is to then make these friendships where you learn so much that the book is trying to teach. It's one-to-one relationships that are the greatest thing we can do here. I'll get the quote out because it just surprised me that that would be what they would say was the supreme purpose of life, is to get to know each other and to know, of course, all about Jesus. But this there are the schools that do the teaching and the study groups do the teaching, and the societies are where the boots are on the ground, where you're one-on-one with each other. And that's how the growing is going to happen, in interaction with some other human being, where you now have to act out what you learned in the book. Be in relationship. All the things you described about the regulations were relationships between people, and how to regulate the relationships and encourage the relationships and teach how to be in relationship. And that's what the societies are created to do, the relationship end of it. So they would hardly be something that could be dispensed with and still have a complete service organization that services the whole teachings.
Yeah. Well, I think that in 100 years, there might be a resurgence of societies, and Phil's idea is not uncommon in our committee. I mean, it's come up several times. So, I mean, we're going to do something with it. But right now, Dominique wrote, how can one go about creating a new society? So right now in the Constitution, you got to get 10 people together. You have to do about a dozen different things. And it's complicated and needs revising, but it is possible to do if you can get 10 people together, have a president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary, and jump through some other hoops, and by golly, you're a society. But but I hope that we can simplify it in the future. Clint.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about something that might be working against the existence of societies. And I want to compliment Diane Bishop for that eloquent defense of the value. And it's undeniable. I mean, one of my favorite Urantia book quotes, which I can't seem to quote very well, and I don't know the reference.
I have that all the time.
Maybe I should put it in the chat later, but is something to the effect that religionists benefit from the company of other religionists. Is that something like that?
Well, if it's not, it should be.
It helps their spiritual evolution. But the one big thing has anyone read the book Bowling Alone that came out?
Oh, yes. It's a wonderful book. It explains why there's been a decline. It's not just us. Every professional organization has had a decline in attendance.
Right. And that's the background that you're working with here, or against the environment. People are just not joiners the way they once were. Some people know my friend's father. He had a Lions Club meeting on Monday, a Rotary meeting on Tuesday, a Shriners meeting on Wednesday. Maybe he just wanted to get out of the house. I don't know. But people don't jump at the chance of joining clubs and groups of any kind. And the turn of the century, I guess, was kind of a time when everyone wanted to start a club or a forum or something. And even in the 50s, probably there was a lot of interest in joining things, but now, no. And I think, like Carol Ray pointed out, if you have your, oh, and this is my experience too. If you have your study group, and you have maybe a association with the fellowship through summer study sessions or whatnot, the need for a society, I don't know, especially when if the society is headquartered more than 100 miles away and has its meetings there. So yeah, that's what's working against us, I guess. It's not insurmountable, I suppose. With Zoom, joining is less expensive of time and energy, and that's good. You don't have to get in a car and drive 100 miles for a meeting. And I've enjoyed our societies, which is getting kind of, the Heart of American Society is getting kind of reinvigorated here lately.
That's a thrilling thing too.
And they have a couple of, they have a meeting open, a presentation, let's put it, of one kind or another, every couple of months. And I've really enjoyed participating in that. So maybe the Zoom can save us. I don't know.
Bill,
Well, I attend regularly and participate in a UCC church. And I try to learn some things from them as to what we should be doing or could be doing, because this is a very energetic church. It has a very good pastor, a woman, who can give a fairly good and short homily. There's a lot of activities going on for everybody. And, I sing in the choir. I go to the lectionary on Monday many times. There are so many committees and other activities that are available that makes my head swim. But they have a bunch of people showing up on Sunday, and even during the pandemic, we have now gotten back to meeting in person, still wearing masks, but unless we're singing in the choir when we sing the anthem. And what is it this church brings? It allows people to get to know one another and form, close relationships. Many of these people have been going to this church. I've been there for over 5 years, but I'm sort of almost a newcomer. These people have been there for decades. And so what is it about this church that seems so successful? What can we learn from them? When I first got there, one of the ladies one of the things that there's a function of, she asks people to share their faith journey. So after church one day, I was able to stand up and tell them about my faith journey. And of course, I mentioned the Urantia book. 2 people out of about 100 were so interested that they actually picked up the book and read it. One was very impressed with it and says, it answered all of my questions. It was just wonderful. She doesn't attend my study group, but I had the feeling as though she really wasn't happy to have found it. One other fellow who decided he wanted to read it, turned out he'd never even read the New Testament. So he found the Jesus Papers a slog. But, he wanted to read it. So, not many people, though, in that church thought that, I want to read that. I want to look into that. So I think we need to find out what it is that a good church does for people and add that to, our the spectrum of our activities a little more so than we're doing now. I think that people come back to the church because they're getting something there. And if they're not coming back to our societies, it's because they're not getting what they want or need. And we need to learn what it is they're doing right. I mean, obviously, we've got a lot of good truth, but a good pastor can expand on the Bible and people leave there feeling as though they've gotten something out of this experience. We need to learn how to do that too. And I'd love to be able to convert one of these churches, but I think that's hard.
Good luck.
Yeah. How about John? Thank you, Bill.
Hi, John.
Hey, I just had I'm pretty new to the book for one thing. Two, I didn't know anything about societies, and I would think that societies would need to consciously make some sort of a statement with regard to an action related to something with the fruits of the divine spirit, because as far as action goes, that's where we need to be going to build ourselves and other people as well. And I just wanted to comment on Phil's beginning. Carol had the book for a long time, and I think part of not reading the book or anything was because we were busy. But one Easter weekend, we decided to read from the Urantia book, and we read The Last Supper. And I was incredibly impressed with all the descriptions of the personalities of the disciples and everything in that reading. And that's what got me to go, hey, I'll spend some time reading this book.
Wow.
Comment that he reminded me of what interested me in the book. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Carol?
Take myself off of mute. What I was going to point out about getting younger people interested in societies is it seems like younger people are happy with communicating online. As a matter of fact, you're only supposed to text them. If you call them on the phone, it's like, what? You're calling me on the phone? This phone is only for texting. So, what I'm seeing with the younger people is, and even like teenagers, they're satisfied gathering online and with their social media. That doesn't mean that they all, all the time they don't. So that's just maybe gives us a hint of we're doing the right thing right now on this Zoom, reaching to younger people, because we are adapting. Most of us John and I are pushing 70, so we know that the internet didn't come secondhand to us like it does the younger people, but yet we're adapting and we're growing, and hey, we're doing just I think we're doing the best we can.
Well, appreciate that, Carol. I tend to agree that actually this is, might say, their game. We didn't invent this system that we're in, and but it was created and deliberately created, and they have an interest in what's going on here, and therefore they know the answer to this situation. So intense asking of what next, what's our next, what do you want us to do? They know, and somewhere they'll get the message through to one of us, certainly if we're asking persistently enough. So the answer is obviously there and waiting for us to tune into it. And they think of the millions of celestial beings that are here on the planet to help us out. And so I'm wondering why we are floundering. We should have, it probably is right in front of us, and we'll figure out what it is. So everybody keep your communications open with your thought adjusters, wide open, and surely one of us will get the answer, because they are obviously watching us struggle through this with great interest and are encouraging us in one direction or another. So there we are with that. We don't have to worry that there's no answer.
I think that what we're doing right now is one of the things that really is helping to bridge that gap. Is we are on the internet, we're online, and growing with communication through the internet seems like a good way to reach the younger people. So I think we're doing a good job tonight.
No, thank you for that.
Lawrence has got something to say.
Hi, folks. This is my first time in a UB Zoom, so forgive me if I'm not following protocols. I'd like to offer a couple of suggestions in a conclusion, but first, I'd like to share some observations I've had. I have two children that are now in their late 30s. For 3 decades, I have tried to get them involved with copies of the Urantia book that I've given them. They never have time. One of the things that I remember reading from the Urantia book is a warning against establishing certain institutionalized things such as icons or relics. Those are my own words. And I'm concerned that we're essentially have done that with the Urantia book. And it's turning people off. I think in my own experience with my children, in trying to get them involved with the Urantia book, and as busy as their lives are, they look at a 2,000-page tome and say, later, right? So it doesn't really inspire them to get into it, even though I've shared many things from the book with them. And they do ask me questions about it, but it's, it's limited in what I can spend in a couple of minutes sharing with them. Recently, actually yesterday, I saw a TV series that I watch occasionally called Unexplained Mysteries on TV. And I was really amazed that the dialogue, or rather the narration of the episode by William Shatner, he included many ideas that I think the author of his narration had to have read the Urantia book, because he kept sharing ideas from the Urantia book as if they were contemporary thinking. And it led me to the conclusion supporting the conclusion I made some time back, that the problem we may be currently experiencing with trying to further the interest in the Urantia book is not reducing it to something like sound bites to get it across to people. My own experience in trying to promote the book with other people has been unfortunate, to be positive. Thank you very much for the book, and it collects dust from that point on, or anchors paper someplace. Also, I would like to offer the observation that since the 60s, when we became very technologically involved with the space program, conversations in virtually every field have been reduced to acronyms, which is a way of transferring information quickly between people by digesting it with simple letters. The suggestion I would like to offer is that it is great that societies are promoting the book, but maybe we ought to consider promoting the ideas within the book, and sharing them with people that are what I'm trying to say, that are in, I think the term is influencers. Some of the ideas that we could share, and they were just, in a matter of seconds, we could transfer a great deal of information to people, and they'll digest that. They'll mull it over and think about it, and it'll move them forward. They may even come back to us, as I've had it happen, and saying, "You mentioned this to me a while back, and I've been thinking that you must be absolutely right. Where did you come up with that idea?" And I let them seek me out to find out where that information came. And then they went and found the book and read it. I think that might be a little more digestible to most people than trying to throw it, hold a book out and say, "Here, read this 2,000 pages." My thoughts. Thank you very much for your involvement.
Very good.
I think you're so right, Lawrence. It's an excellent idea. And I think that, of course, there's been a rumor that the Urantia book was much of the resource material for the Star Wars series, and also the current Avatar, where you wake up on another place and get another body. And so much of the Urantia concepts seem to me to appear in the very popular Avatar. And our society is considering, going to be a ways away, to have what you might call a film festival. One of our members does these, and you invite young people to come and do a movie based on the Urantia book anywhere they want. And it's a like 40-minute max length. And then they can get an award for the best movie that's made, which means, of course, they'd have to read the book in order to get the prize. And young filmmakers, I understand, are eager to get an award for some film festival they submitted their work to. So it's not that difficult to reward them because that's what they're after, that award. But how to encapsulate the concepts in creative ways that are either visual or little clips of commentary in some way, that I think is really a great idea to take forward. It's the teachings we're actually after is spreading, and they say live it in your life. Well, I'm eager to find ways to actually live the teachings that they translate into something someone might ask you about. Anyone? Oh, I think Doreen has her hand up.
Oh, yes, thank you so much. First of all, many people read the book that you introduced the book to, or, you know, after discussion, but they don't join societies. That's the difference. I know over the years, I've met many people just in the United States alone that had read the book for years and they never cared to meet anyone else. They did it, especially men, they had done it on their own. Another thing is Nick Hurdo, he does a radio broadcast and he has always a Urantia reader on there. Somebody, I think Sue Sebasta, is that how you pronounce her last name, was one of the guests. And he always has guests on there for many years. And they talk about, and strictly for the Urantia book, but you don't know what happens afterwards, who picks it up. There's no contact, you know. So, and then there's also a group in New York, and they meet in in one of the gay and lesbian buildings. It's a big club, and they have rooms. And Nick has been having a group there for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and he used to do the Urantia book study group, and afterwards he has a very big group that goes with the UFO stuff. And that is a gigantic attraction. And some of them would fall over into the Urantia, but it's not easy, you know, to, oh, I knew what I wanted to ask you. Tom, I know in our society, you have had to read the whole book in order to join the society. Is that still the case? Because that would eliminate a lot of people that maybe are reading it, but not have finished.
Well, it's not part of the fellowship's requirements, except to be in governance. Now, if you want to be on the general council,
yes,
you have to have read the book. But no, for membership from a society, every society is going to have different requirements. Some of them, I think, has that requirement. Ours does not.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. How about New York? Do they?
Well, they used to, then they changed it also.
Yeah.
Because we had a Korean woman, you know, and it's difficult, and they didn't have the Korean's translation then. Now they do. So, you know, yeah, she was reading it for years, but it's very difficult when you're reading in another language. So yes, they had to change it just to accommodate a couple. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to mention that there was quite a bit of rumoring that Gene Roddenberry, who was the creator of
Star Trek,
was a reader. And that's the reason why so much of the Star Trek series seem to pick up things from the Urantia book. You know, for instance, there was this rule that they gave a fancy name to, that you weren't supposed to meddle in a another culture.
The prime directive.
Prime directive. Well, there was something in the Urantia book that was pretty clear about that being their value as well. I wanted to mention one other thing. I have spent a lot of time trying to show that the Urantia book has information that we're just gradually learning about. And, you know, I've come up with maybe 48 of these kinds of things. And now just recently, in the last few days, I just read that scientists have learned that there's a liquid layer of, well, basalt, and that they didn't realize it, but it seems to go all the way around the Earth underneath. And the Urantia book says, yeah, the continents float on it. Otherwise, the Earth would shake apart. So here we are in 2023, reading about something the scientists have just discovered, and you could find it in the Urantia book. I mean, not in some vague way, very, very specifically in there. And there's so many of those, and it seems like if we could make that point, more people would say, oh, well, I better read this book.
Well, it'd be nice to see that study.
Yeah, it was in the popular press here in the last week. In fact, the last few days. So, yeah.
Well, Craig, I'd love to hear from you. You're the one that's called Dad here.
Yes, I'm Craig. I live in Long Beach. Kind of new to the group, but been reading the Book of Urantia since the 1980s, where I found it in college library at Fresno State. And I've always enjoyed reading it and studying it, and talk with some other friends that read it also and discuss it. But I figured it's time to look out to join a group study and get involved within a society. And so here I am.
Oh,
Hopefully to get
welcome.
involved a little bit more. And I feel ready to, share the word and show the books around. And so far, I think this is a great discussion. And one thing that came to mind is when you're talking about getting younger people involved, I was looking at, you need some good apps to get them involved. I see there's a few Urantia apps, so I'll take recommendations if you got some, or podcasts. And, then the younger crowd will get involved much quicker. Other than, Grandpa showing them this old tome with 2,000 pages like you guys referenced earlier. And that turns them off real quick.
Thank you for your email address.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah, thanks.
There's some things happening that you might enjoy.
Yeah, the Urantia book really related to me. I've had some really good personal experiences that I found validated in the book. And sometime I'll share them with you guys in the group once I get to know you a little bit more and get involved some. So yeah, it sounds like a good thing. Thanks for letting me join you guys.
Welcome, welcome. We'll be in touch. There's through some study groups you could join, and of course the society meets every 3 months by Zoom. We get together only once a year in person, but I'd sure like to see more of that. I think your ideas are great.
Okay, great, thanks.
I'm not sure if I'm unmuted. This is Gene.
We can hear you fine.
Hi, Gene.
Yeah, I'd like to be unmuted, but unseen.
Yeah, you are unmuted now.
Okay. Hey, I just so this is completely impromptu, and I get the email link, and I thought I'd listen to see. Every so often I come back in and out and see what the organizational folks are talking about with respect to the Urantia papers. And so I have an opinion or two to offer, just to see what folks are. So anyway, yeah, I'm in a hospital bed in Arkansas, and I'm not too keen on the video part of things, and don't know if I can be even articulate in the thing that I've been thinking about for a number of years. I got the book, and I think that there are two different tracks that are running on the book, or two different tracks that are running in this discussion. You know, everybody's well aware of the Foundation Fellowship divisions and the differences in the governances and all that kind of thing. I remember coming back from Nigeria really gung-ho about having the book taken to Nigeria, and just kind of had cold water thrown on me in a number of different ways. You know, I've been to Chicago and I've been to a lot of the meetings. And for me personally, I would never go to a meeting to have an exegesis of the book. I mean, thank God, you know, it's not like it's not encrypted. It's not written in ancient text that we need to have translated into modern terminology. Languages, yes, but not terminology. And so I think there are two things running simultaneously. The first thing you have is they have the, and undoubtedly I'm going to be, what's the term, borrowing, plagiarizing somebody else's idea. But for me, I see the readings as the revelation, that is the teachings of the book. And then I see the revelation as the advent of the book. And what has taken place when I observe from a distance from all the organizations that are involved in the promulgation of the book, and the great desire that we all have to disseminate the book. And we would all agree, I mean, in one way or another, that the book, at least for me, is not an augmentation to my spiritual life, but has been actually the explanation and the underpinning and the answers that I needed. The first thing is you have the overwhelming comprehensive nature of the teachings of the book. Even in Jesus is the fourth part, though that is what we would consider, I suppose, on a academic level, a little easier to read than some of the passages and papers in the front. This is something that's going to take time to be inculcated into the society at large. So we're struggling with the idea of how to do that. Then you have the Urantia papers as an advent of a revelation. So if you look at the success sometimes and the lack of success, I mean, certainly there's been lots of comments about previous epical revelations that have come to us that we have slightly mishandled or handled in ways in which we're not the most haven't advanced the purpose quite like we want to. Sethites, Salemites, you know what I'm referring to there. So in my little circle, I have a very difficult time exposing the papers because people want to discuss, or that is to say, if we try to discuss on a real broad basis the teachings that are contained in the book, then we get bogged down. A very narrow approach to the book as an advent of revelation. All of the benefits of having group societal, a group and unity organizations that will put us together when they are trying to specifically talk about the meanings and the teachings of the book themselves doesn't make for a dynamic glue that holds us together. Whereas a simple proclamation that the book is a revelation from out there, or however you want to describe it, seems to me to have a more narrow and specific method to have people entertain reading the book. I mean, we are guaranteed, after all. I know it is true for me. I'm just a layman, and I'm and not well read, not well educated, just a farmer, just an old dried up cowboy. But the thought adjuster and the other mechanisms that are provided reveal truth to me. Now, granted, there has to be some desire and there has to be some effort. But we're guaranteed that if people read the book, there's going to be an impact. At least that's the way I see that. But again, that's sort of a quibbling about the teaching. You know, does the book really teach that if you read the book, you know, you're going to believe that the book is true? We can get into the nitty gritty of that. But for me, I think that if anyone actually gets the book, yeah, it's long. I dabbled in it, thought it was extra biblical, straight out of Satan's Lyre. I have a fundamentalist evangelical background, but whenever I discovered the things that were in the book that were just unassailably true, then that gave legitimacy to the book. And of course, nothing that I really have to say with respect to my spiritual life now. It may be a culmination of all the things that have come in my life heretofore, but I'm certainly not able to talk about anything without having the book as the reference. So I just find that I find in all the constitutions and all of the bylaws and all of the things, the words teachings, which are good, aren't they? That's what it's about. But it's a little broad. It's a second step. First step really is just the announcement that an advent of truth is here. And of course, if you look around, it would appear that somewhere a bestowal mission or something needs to come and set the record straight. So that's kind of how I look at this. I mean, a much more simplified viewpoint. I personally benefit not at all from going and having an exegesis or an explanation or a heavy discussion of the book, unless it's with friends that I want to really get into the nitty gritty and talk about. But as far as the things that you're talking about, how to approach young people, how to, have the book disseminated, that's a broad undertaking. And a bit like the idea of the, trying to incorporate many things in the Melchizedek teachers that went forth that later turned out to be just a little bit more than the people were ready to chew. Does that make any sense?
Well, I'm enjoying what you're saying very much, Gene, and I'd actually love to continue the discussion with you, even because your point of view would be very valuable to come up with some approaches that would be more satisfactory to take, like go down more like butter. So I hope you'll put your email in the chat so I can contact you and continue with. I'd like to see you also be in a group that was compatible with where you are. So be sure and put that in email in. I certainly would appreciate it. And thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. That's great. I think Sky has her hand up.
Yes, thank you. really was listening to this last gentleman. He's making a lot of sense. And I was also thinking about looking or just saying some things about some individuals have done a lot lately. There's the You Be the News on YouTube, truthbook.com we have podcasts, we have the Evolving Souls community that's on YouTube. We have the Urantia Foundation puts out a whole lot of things. And there was an 2022 Science Symposium, session 05. That was by an individual that had a lot to say about the cosmos and mathematics. And so there's a whole lot that just pops up. But unless you're really interested in those things, it's not going to pop up on your phone or on your computer. It's the phone knows what you're interested in. If you just start looking at something, you'll get more. If you put in consciousness or something about God, then you get all these different things. And there's a lot about Urantia book in all of that when you do that. But I was also looking, I asked the question on Google, is there a Urantia church, was the question. And it popped up, the truthbook.com. And the comment here, if I might just take a second here, somebody asked, is there a Urantia church? And at first it says, the answer is Urantia book readers come from all manners of beliefs or lack thereof. And then it mentions the different religions. And then it says there have been attempts in the past to establish a Urantia church, but the concept isn't particularly well received among Urantians. You see, most of us believe that the teachings of the Urantia books do not denote a new religion as much as they provide an umbrella under which all world religions can function. Last sentence, it says, the Urantia book is here in part to elevate and uplift the religious thought in the world, whether it be Christian, Jewish, Islamic, Hindu, or pagan, not to impose another form of religion. And before that, there was a question, somebody about the Urantia book, or the Urantia church. And it says right here, Urantia church - Jesus Brotherhood. And if you go to that, it tells you more about this particular church. And I don't know if any of you are aware of that, but that's right under my Google search. It says Urantia Church, the Jesus Brotherhood. So are you all aware that that's out there? And I had no idea. So I'm going to look into that some more, but what do you all think about that?
Well, I'd like to say, I'd sure like to get that list of references that you have there and make a channel to make those available to people who are seeking through our society, through our publications, through our announcements. I mean, those kinds of resources should be out there and very, very available. Some of them I have not explored and would like to. So if you could just compile a little list, put it on the email, that would be so terrific. Thank you, Scott.
I don't think I have your email, Diane. Do I?
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, because I can send you, I'm coming across this stuff all the time. I'm just amazed. The man that put together the You Be the News is the gentleman I met, several years ago when I was in Oregon. Just happened to meet him. I was talking and trying to find a group to go to. And he was there. And now he's the one that has put together You Be the News. And you can get it on YouTube. And you can join his Zooms whenever he has his Zooms. And it's just fantastic. So yeah, there's so much out there. And you can buy the Urantia book from Walmart now. Yeah. And Thrift Books has used books. And and the Urantia Foundation is the one that's done it. Because if you look up Urantia book, it'll bring up all the different places where you can buy the Urantia book. And under where it says Walmart for $15.96 or something like that, it says underneath it says Urantia Foundation. So there's a whole lot being done. And I just think it's just going to explode here pretty soon, I think. I mean, I know what we're all talking about, and I know it's important.
Yeah.
And I also think that one of the things about churches that are so successful is that they are entertaining. We have a group of people in this world now, since the TV came in, we're all wanting to be entertained. And I think a lot of the very big churches, like we have a huge one, the community church in Bonita, it's huge. The parking lot alone is bigger than the church, and they're building more parking lot. And I've been there, and they have singers, and they have live bands, and they have, you know, this guy is he's an entertaining pastor, and you have all of this stuff, and it's huge, but it does things I don't care for, so I don't belong to it. Because I have my own feelings and my own understandings of what Jesus wants of me. So, yeah, it's fascinating, but I think that if we were going to have a church, people are going to have to be entertained. And I don't really feel like that's where I'm going. I want to go and sit down like I do with Phil. And I sit and go to his Zooms twice a month, and I learn things. That's what I'm about. I'm just getting into the meat. So I can get entertainment anywhere. So I don't know about this church thing. I don't know if it's going to work.
Thanks, Scott.
You know me, I always have to put my 2 cents in.
Well, I do feel like the churches fulfill a need in that a family can take the whole family, the kids, everybody. There's something for everybody to get interested in, and, you know, seriously interested in, or for the children, some excellent opportunities to start the education. So they are multi-purpose, and but the thing underneath the whole thing, in all of these instances, you have a chance to connect with someone, connect with other people.
It's
And
complicated.
that connection, I found in an experience of serving on the board of a symphony, that every time there was a performance, people didn't necessarily come for the performance. I was the welcomer in the lobby, and every time there was a symphony, people would come to be greeted in the lobby, to be welcomed and recognized and seen and connected with. They loved that part. And so we promoted more of that connection as well as coming to a symphony, because that seemed to be what made people get dressed up and come at night to something like that. Is there someone at the door ready to greet them?
Mhm.
And that personal connection that you get in a society, what my aim is in our Los Angeles society, make a personal connection so people want to come back.
I agree. Meeting in person is very important. I'm not sure about the church thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Carol Ray wants to talk.
Yes, I'm kind of chomping at the bit here. I'm sorry. You mentioned You Be the News.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to rain on your parade, but I attended his Zoom recently.
Okay.
And I used to be very impressed with Halbert Katzen as well. I'm not super familiar with his work, and I'm not a big Urantia scholar, but I did attend his Zoom, and he talked quite a bit about QAnon, and I'll get his words. He also said that the Urantia Foundation, UAI, and the Fellowship has lost their way.
Uh-oh.
And he said, and this is his words, simply put, the QAnon crowd is obviously more harmonious with Urantia book teachings than those who oppose this cultural development. So just wanted to just filling you in on that.
Okay, well, thank you. You know, I'm just throwing out stuff because there's so much out there that we can find, but yeah, thank you for that.
Well, and don't misunderstand me. You did provide a lot of wonderful things, and I agree that, I mean, especially having the book in the early 70s, there was nothing, no one, and of course we didn't have the internet, and so you're absolutely right. There are so many wonderful things out there. People are doing amazing things, and thank you for bringing that up, Sky.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol.
Well, we're at our 5:15. We're I think published to 5:30. We'd love to hear from everyone before we have to at least be cognizant of other people's time schedules. We certainly can go on even after that time. We're happy to be here for any further talking.
Well, Doreen has got her hand up. I noticed that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Hi, Doreen.
Hey, hi. I just thought of something. I used to go to Toastmasters, two Toastmasters clubs, and I introduced the Urantia teachings through speeches.
Oh,
So many people came over to me, especially young people. This was in Florida. And they want to know where I got that information from. It was so good. And just on and on over the years. And I'm telling you, it was such an attractor. You didn't have to say anything, but they, you know, just the way you pick out stuff from the book is so attractive and so alluring. People used to ask me, can I take you out to dinner? Can I take you out to lunch? I want to pick your brain. I mean, it was a wonderful opportunity to introduce the teachings just by a speech. And then, you know, sure, I give them the name of the book and all that. But there's a lot of places that you could do that. So, you know, you have to be creative and interested and spend your time, I guess, out there looking, because I realize I go to the train station. So you have the people who are into the green, you know, society. You have people with global warming handing out flyers, besides all the other groups, you know, out there. And so it's all young people. I don't know if they get paid to do it, but sometimes they'll sit down next to me and they'll start talking about, you know, what they're interested in, trying to sell me, you know, another opportunity to be part of something. So you know, they're out there, and a lot, especially in New York City, the young people, because there's all the colleges and they're on the streets and they stop you and they have flyers. So I don't know what people, you know, have availability, but there is one guy from our group. Well, he's not part of society, but he's part of a study group. And he set up a table in New York City for a long time. And he had books on there. I mean, he's a character, but I assume he's attracting a lot of people. But New York has a lot of characters, so maybe that's a good thing. Like-minded people attract like-minded people. That's it, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. That is another source of dissemination. Just get out there and hand out flyers. We have an interesting name that I don't think I can pronounce, Akshay. Are you there available to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's Akshay Chaitanya from India. And well, I do get mails and try to participate in the meetings as much as possible, as much I can. Yeah, true. I do agree with the concept of body, mind, soul. Yeah, I have listened all the interesting and enchanting and marvelous speech from all of you. Yeah, at least I think that a speaker should be a good listener also. Yeah, regarding the book, it's true. I admit that I have not read the whole book, just a part of it. But yeah, the concept of body, mind, soul, which the book tries to convey to the society. It's true that everybody can't digest or swallow these things easily. It's not due to their fault. It's due to their, you can say, the atmosphere in which they are living, in which they don't have a sweet relationship with the God. Oh, if the God favors me, oh, my lovely God. If he starts testing, oh, why God, you're giving me so much troubles. So this broad-mindedness, I'm very sorry to say, is absent. Obviously, the book won't appeal in that way practically. And window shopping is our natural phenomenon. As said earlier, every organization today or tomorrow follows the pattern of second law of thermodynamics, which says that everything goes from order to disorder. It's a natural process. As said by Shakespeare, that we are all actors, we are just playing our role. And today or tomorrow, we have to leave the stage for other actors to come.
True.
So no problem. If we are on the right path, God's righteousness, it's enough. The cosmos will take the other steps. Well, my style of teaching, explaining is a bit odd, I know that. Because in my channel also I say one thing, self-centered and centered in self. They are two different concepts. And just imagine what you are, what do you want. And just bring your new version every day.
Yes.
Everybody is drinking a cup of tears in one or the either way. Don't add more tears. No harm in giving a smile. No harm. Try, at least.
Ashley, are you coming to us from India? Where are you now?
No, I'm in India only.
You're in India now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm surprised our messages get that far.
Yeah. I'm staying in North India. Now it's early morning here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
temperature around 4 degrees.
Yeah, and it's probably getting pretty late for some people. And we have been going at it for almost, well, over 2.5 hours. And I don't want anybody to get tired of this, but thank you very much. How do you say your name? Akshay?
Akshay.
Akshay.
Akshay. Yeah.
I'll say your last name.
Chaitanya.
Chaitanya.
Chaitanya is related, the word meaning related is with consciousness.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Nothing special, just the meaning of the word I'm saying.
What city are you near?
Huh?
What city in India are you near?
Yeah, in city is, I'm in Uttarkashi, which is in Uttarakhand, is in North India.
North India.
Yeah, western side of Uttar Pradesh.
Well,
And if you've heard the name of Dehradun, it's around 5.5 hour journey towards north. There's Uttarkashi.
Okay. Well, thank you. And be sure and come again. I'm glad you're getting our posts.
Yeah, because I do love the concept of vision of mind, body, soul. And my books, especially this Mind Science and other things in my YouTube channel and Facebook Live or things, I do express these things, though the terminology is different, which I have to follow according to the language and the other things. But the concept, the vision is same. Please don't mind.
Well, thank you for joining us so much. And join us again. We'll keep sending them out every quarter.
Why not?
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to invite me and to accept this speech in a positive way.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Hope to hear more. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. I'm going to go. It's 8:30 here.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we have a final prayer or invocation of some sort? Anybody wants to add to this?
Yeah. Tom, do you have something you'd like to end this with?
Muted. You're muted, Tom. You're muted.
Aha.
We do want to hear you.
Okay, yeah, I do drink a toast to the Rancho Book Society of Los Angeles.
Okay.
And I also want to thank Jesus for being here with us and for indwelling each of us, our Father. And what a wonderful chance we have to improve the world with an epical revelation and with our personal ministry. So let's go forth in
Oh.
benediction. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
Together, so let's gather again and continue these generating new ideas. I think I've gotten so much from this and so many things I'm eager now to put into place through our society. So keep watching for our quarterly notices of gatherings and let's maybe create some things here. We could do that. Just us.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom and Diane.
Yeah, thank you all for being
And-
here.
Yes, thanks everybody for your inputs. And I wanted to say that Jean has a point. We might be too complicated. We should just simply say, you know, we have this epical revelation. Jesus said, you know, it all in a few words. Fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. We ought to be able to say something short and sweet that'll attract people. So I like what Jean said in that regard. And I want to say good night to everybody. And
see you in 3 months.
This has been recorded, so it will be available to anybody who wants to.
Oh, should I ask you for it?
Well, it first of all has to be done by Zoom, and then they'll send me notice that it's ready to share it with anybody. So I'll let you know.
Oh, great. I'd love to see it again. There's some good ideas.
Okay.
I just sent my email to Diane.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and so you can contact me and then I'll see what I can do.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Love you all.
Namaste, everyone. Namaste.
Thank you.
Till
Thank
next
you.
time.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Don.
Hey, and thanks for putting up with my rusty voice.
Well, I'm
Thanks,
used to
Tom.
putting up with your rusty voice, so no problem, Tom.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
yeah. That's what we get for knowing each other for so long.
All right. I'm going to end the Zoom now.
Okay.
All right. Good night. Love
Take
you all
care.
so much.
Love you all.
Bye.